Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CtD Tech Thursday. Today we're going to be discussing the process of TruBall reviews. We were doing ball reviews all day today, so we're going to go over that process, give you some little insight on what's going on at the Education Center with TruBall reviews. If you want some more information on TruBall reviews, you can find the blog on ctdbowling.com, or you can head to TruBallreviews.com. Go ahead and take this down. Ron, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
We're out today, bro.
Tell me about it.
Long day.
Yeah. So today we're going to be going over the process. We're actually going to be looking over a ball review. Ron actually did talk about it, talk about what's going to be changing, and show you just the whole process of the TruBall reviews.
Let's do it.
All right, I can go ahead and pull that video up. All right, you see it?
I see it.
All right.
See,
I have the
if you turn your volume up, you should be able to hear it.
The first bowling ball that's made by Brunswick with the track logo on it. We'll start by giving it a little scan and kind of see what the surface of the bowling ball is. 5,000, 4,500, 5,000. So typical for bowling balls that have been bowled. Ball's going to get right to that 5,000 group number. Let's see how she rolls. So we'll start out kind of by going over that 10 board area, which tends to be the favorite spot for a lefty. Like so. I can tell you already this has more of that continuous type shape, smoother. So as I move right and then get the throwing it further left, it's going to find a spot where it will be in a plaque. It'll plaque 7 pin. This may be more of like a benchmark type ball, less of a bowling ball, more of a bowling ball to read the lane, less when you want to really try to hook it. But we'll see. So now we'll move in. We'll get it left. Okay. So what that would tell me is that it's definitely on the earlier side too. So it wants to hook earlier, not later. Still smooth, right? Still going to be smooth. That means I need to keep it in the oil a little bit longer. So that's more.
Ron, is there anything you want to add as we're about halfway through the review?
Yeah, we can stop it right there, honestly. So
okay.
Here's kind of the thing, right? When we do ball reviews, when we've always done ball reviews in the past, the thing that we've always noticed is that we're not really comparing the balls to anything, right? We're just throwing the ball and then giving you our interpretation of what we're seeing. And the reason why we do that is because for the situation that we're in, that tends to make the most sense, right? So with the situation being what it is, doing the review in that form or fashion seems to be what makes the most sense. But the truth of the matter is that isn't the only way to do a review. And in fact, there's ways you can do the review that are more advantageous for the consumer. And I think that was the whole point of us trying to develop this process with the TruBall review system. We wanted to give the consumer more data relative to what their environment is, what they're doing. I mean, they don't get a chance to throw 20 brand new bowling balls like you did today, Dustin. But there's a way that we can tie back those 20 bowling balls to them and to what their environment is. So that was the whole thought process behind what we're trying to do here. So the first thing is everybody's got to have the same piece of hardware, right? So in this case, the hardware is the control ball. The control ball is the IQ Tour sanded to 2,000 grit True Cut. The IQ Tour comes from the factory at 4,000 grit at Avalon. And we both know that there can be a fair amount of variation in that number. So we decided that, well, why don't we get rid of as many variables as possible? Because the more variables you can get rid of, the more control you can have over the review and the more educated you can make decisions when it comes to the data. So specifically, we decided to get the IQ Tour, and they're all drilled the same. All the IQ Tours that we're going to do with this process will be drilled the same compared to the bowler's axis point. So your axis point is different than my axis point. So my ball may look physically different when you look at it, but relative to the axis point, it'll be the exact same. We use that 60 degree by 4 3/4 by 30 degree layout. And I've got that on my ball. You've got that on your ball. All the people that are going to go through this process with it will also have that on their ball. Then that gets rid of the layout as a variation tool. The balls will be surfaced at 2,000 True Cut by us before they're shipped to the consumer. So that gets rid of that variable. Now you still got other variables, right? You have the way you throw the ball versus the way the consumer throws the ball. You have the environment that they're bowling in, the oil, the topography, the lanes, yada, yada, yada. We can't control a lot of those things. But what we can do is have them take that same ball that we have and throw it in their environment. And then whatever that ball does relative to, for them and for us relative to the test balls, it'll give them a good idea. So as an example, we were doing some testing today, and if, let's say that we're testing, pick a ball. We'll pick
Parallax.
Parallax, there we go. So if the parallax ball is longer and more angular than the IQ Tour for us, then you should see a similar type motion from that parallax for you, given what your IQ Tour does. So let me go a little deeper with that, right? So let's say the IQ Tour for you is it gets down the lane medium, it's a continuous ball, and you've got balls that go longer and balls that hook earlier than that, okay? Well, the parallax for us, the IQ Tour for us is medium and continuous. The parallax is going to go longer and be more angular. So if you got a parallax, then you should expect to see it to be longer and more angular. You say, well, why does that matter? Well, because here's the thing. If in your environment, the IQ Tour hooks early and bails, like it hooks really, really early and it bails because of your environment, then the parallax is probably going to go longer. It's going to hook, but it's probably going to start to bail, right? And that's where this whole process becomes very, very useful, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you some relative comparison. It's not perfect. Like, it's not perfect, and it's never going to be perfect because there's too many variables that you don't have control over. But it's at least a whole lot better start than what we just got done watching, which is me throw the ball and me tell you what I think it's doing. Also, with us using clutch and using spectro, we can qualify shots. There are shots that you may think that are good that aren't good, and vice versa. So at least you'll be able to get a good comparison, or at least a relative comparison between our control ball, which you'll have, and then the ball that we're reviewing or testing. So that's what I mean. Tell me a little bit about, you got to throw all the balls today, and this is your first time going through a process like this. This is the exact same process that we would use when I was developing bowling balls for about 15 years. We would have a control ball always, and we would compare the test balls relative to the control ball to see how it performed. And that was the whole key to letting us know whether we were good or we were bad or we needed to work on it some more or change the surface or whatever. So this is the exact same process that I've used for more than a decade. And this is your first time going through it. So why don't you maybe tell everybody what your thought was going through that process today?
I thought it's a very, very informative process to get a good understanding of what the balls do. The control ball is practically the most important part of the review because that gives you a baseline of what to see with the test ball. But personally, like following that process, getting into a groove of, okay, this ball may have hooked, for example, 2 feet earlier and hooked a little bit more. So that in your head would mean, okay, maybe this is closer to a traction sort of ball motion, but it's a lot of bowling. I don't think I realized how much it was until probably 3 hours ago. But it's like it's a good learning process, and once we get these videos to the YouTube channel or on the Facebook page or shared on the Facebook page, I'm excited for everyone to see what we're doing in terms of we do this with the control ball, which is 2,000 every time, but where we move on the lane, how we make it sort of a review process rather than sort of a guess with one ball. Like the review we just showed, it's hard to really tell what the ball does if you don't have anything to compare it to, which I thought was probably the most informative part of today, that it allowed me to see a bigger difference between the balls. Like, okay, this ball does this compared to the IQ Tour, or it does this compared to the IQ Tour. So it was a good process. Again, long day, that's for sure. But I'm looking forward to doing more. That's for sure.
Awesome. I saw we got some questions. Bill asked if the ball's hand sanded or machine. I asked because people put different pressure on the ball. So once again, when we send the balls out to you, we're using a machine. We're sending you an extra pad, which you have to do by hand. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect. Like, there is no way to make the process perfect, and that's not the goal here. The goal here is to give you a much better comparison process than what you've got currently, because the current process doesn't give you anything to compare it against. Anytime you watch, or look at any of my old ball reviews, there's not a comparison ball, so you don't know anything about what's going on. You don't know whether I'm bowling on a China or I'm bowling on a flat pattern, and maybe the ball rolls better on the flat pattern than it does on the China, but there's no real way to qualify that. So this process is not meant to be the end-all be-all for being able to rate bowling balls by any means. This process is specifically meant to be an improvement, a vast improvement, and to help people be able to make better informed decisions about bowling balls when they're picking them. Not every bowling ball fits in your arsenal. If you don't know what bowling balls you have in your arsenal, or have any sort of comparison in your own arsenal, then the first thing you do is get the control ball that we're telling you to get and compare your bowling balls that you've got to see how they roll. Because if they all roll like the control ball, then you got a whole bunch of the exact same ball in the first place, which isn't doing you any good. So this whole process is really set up to help begin the process of educating the consumer on what bowling balls to pick. We don't care if the ball strikes or not, and that's one of the other things. If you look at a lot of the ball reviews that exist, and I'm not knocking them because we did the exact same thing. It's not good or bad, it's just how it's done. But a lot of the ball reviews are all the balls are always striking, and nobody does that. That's not realistic. That's edited, and that's just how it's done. But I'm less trying to do that, more trying to say, this is the characteristic of the ball. It's earlier, it's later, it's more hook, it's less hook, it's sharper off the friction, it's not. Give you some metrics and give you some data to help you make a much better informed decision at the end of the day. That's the whole point. So somebody's asked about the layout. So the layout system that we use is dual angle. If you don't know what dual angle is, we've got videos on dual angle. We've actually got a video on how to do the layout system that we're using, and we're not going to go back and forth between multiple layout systems. It's going to be dual angle, and that's it, because that is the prevalent system in bowling. In the system that we use, in the process that we use, it's 60 degrees by 4 3/4 inches by 30 degrees. That's the layout that we're using for the control ball.
Bill wants to know, what pattern did we use?
So we test our bowling balls, or review the bowling balls, on Kegel Chromium. It's an Element Series challenge pattern. It's not too easy and not too hard. The reason why we do that is because you need something that's going to be able to show difference. That's a whole other issue. So check this out. So like when you watch ball reviews, if you're bowling on a house shot, what is a house shot supposed to do? What's the design of a house shot? It's to make your ball go to the pocket. Well, how does it do that? It does that by, when you miss outside, there's more friction, so your ball recovers harder. When you miss inside, there's more oil, so your ball goes longer. So all that does is make the ball react more of the same. which if you're trying to do a review and you're trying to qualify or quantify the bowling ball, you don't want all the balls to do the exact same thing. So bowling on a house shot doesn't make a whole lot of real sense either, because at the end of the day, bowling on a house shot is going to make all the balls look very similar. So at the same token, you don't want to bowl in the US Open either. You don't want to bowl in a completely flat pattern, because that will show you the maximum difference, but that's not realistic either. So we're right kind of in the middle. We went with that program, we went with that pattern, the Kegel Chromium, because I actually talked to Kegel in length about what we should do pattern-wise with what we were trying to do, and that's kind of where we ended up at after testing a few different patterns. So Kegel Chromium is the pattern that we're using, and the concept for that pattern is it's hard enough to be able to see difference, but not so hard that it's not anywhere near realistic of what anybody else could do. So you can actually, you could end up bowling on that pattern at some point in time if you aren't already. And obviously, like I said, it's not meant to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. There's too many variables we can't control. But it's a much bigger, much better improved step from where we were, which was just, like I said, just throwing the ball and telling you what we thought.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, if you have a good relationship with your bowling center or the mechanic, seeing if they can put out that pattern for you would help you get into our shoes in terms of what to expect with the control ball. So if you have the opportunity, definitely take it. I think that would be very, very beneficial. So let's see. I think I'm sore now, but when I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be worse, Troy says.
Yeah, it depends. You get some stretching in the night, it'll make it a little bit better. It won't feel so bad. At the end of the day, this is the price of you get to pay when you want 20 brand new bowling balls. Like, that's the price you pay. You're a little bit sore. So
no, like I said, I enjoyed it. It's not a big deal. So if you have any questions about the TruBall reviews process, don't hesitate to ask. We can go over those if you would like. Let's see. Using the control ball today, could you tell how to adjust using other balls and see if they would fit you? So that's all part of the process, right? So the trying to figure out where the ball is best at, it only adds variables, especially like, okay, I need to move left and get around it, or add a little bit more speed or not as much rotation. So we played different parts of the lane, yes, but it wasn't necessarily to get lined up. It was more of a function of seeing what the ball did, the control ball and the review ball in those certain areas, so that we could gather data. We also used clutch, so we could see if the shots were similar. There was a few circumstances where we went off of the norm a little bit. You'll see that in the reviews. But for every single ball, no, we didn't figure out like adjusting to get to the pocket.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things that's kind of interesting, right? So most people do that. Most ball reviews are trying to get to the pocket to strike. But it's not, if you're wanting to know if something's good or not for you, watching a strike doesn't do that, right? What does that will be your ability to make some comparisons about how that ball is different from another ball. That's how you can tell if it's good for you. And I can tell you now we've got an uphill battle to get that education across, but it does make a lot of sense when you stop and think about it. Because like I said, when you watch a ball review, when it's all said and done, if you stop and go, okay, what would tell me I should get this ball or I shouldn't? And when you start going through all the things that would tell you that, the more variables that are in play, the harder it is to tell. So that's why the goal of what we were trying to do was to reduce as many variables as possible, because the more variables you can reduce, the more you can control what's going on. And that can help you make a better informed decision. And like I said, it's far from perfect, but it's definitely going to be better than where we were.
Right.
That last review that you just showed, it doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you what I thought about the ball when I was bowling, but if you don't throw it exactly like me, then there's not a lot of usefulness, true usefulness out of that type of a review. When we did that exact same type of review, we threw the latitude again today. Dustin and I did. I'm on the lanes today, compared to a control ball, which you'll see a video with that coming very soon. You'll begin to see exactly what I mean when I say, oh, there's a lot more value when you add that control ball, because now you'll understand how that ball compares to something else. And then because you got that relative comparison, you can really begin to make some informed decisions about if that ball fits your needs or not. And it's less about good ball, bad ball. It's more about this ball does this, and that's what I need, or this ball does that, and that's not what I need.
Yeah, going back to our day today, there was one specific ball that Ron and I weren't sure what to really expect, but it turned out really well, especially when we compared it to the control ball. You can actually see where it would fit in an arsenal. And, of course, it was backed by Specto and Clutch. So being able to see that difference is something that's very cool in terms of building an arsenal, understanding what you're seeing in terms of ball motion, the overall difference in ball reaction. So that one really sticks in my mind for something that's coming down the pipe soon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm hoping that you guys like it. Like I said, we're excited to be able to show it. We're getting a lot of help. Rob Johnson's actually helping us edit the videos and get the videos ready for production to show you guys. So hopefully you guys are able to see it, you like it, and you can learn something from it.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, make sure you check out the blog. It is on the website under the blog section. I believe it's the first one. If not, definitely the second.
Yeah, it is.
First one. Okay, so yeah, just go to the blog section of ctdbowling.com. Read the blog. It has all the information in there. What we're doing, what we're testing, some metrics we're getting. So that will help us give to you what we think of these bowling balls.
Right. So look, I know I was going to have Dustin do some bowling today, but he's done a lot of bowling already today, and we got a lot of other stuff we got to get done. So if there's not any more questions, Dustin, we may just wrap this one up, and we'll finish up what we got to finish up, and we'll let people start watching some of those reviews. They'll happen either later this week, or they'll happen sometime later this week. I know Rob's working hard on them, getting them done. So as we start getting them done, we'll start putting them out, and then we'll start showing you guys what we were able to see. And I know David here asked what was the favorite ball you used today, but you got to wait to watch the reviews before you can find that out, because that is one of the things that we got. We got a few little surprises in there, and we're just getting started. This is the first process. This is the first go through at this whole process. So we've got some improvements we're going to be able to make as we get through the process even more. And we're really trying to finish up this building and get it open. We're close. We're very, very close. So definitely looking forward to allowing people to see what we're doing at the Education Center and being able to get in this building and get some training as well. So there's a couple more. Sam says, isn't the best approach always more of what a specific ball does for you instead of what you're able to make it do? That's why we're not, that's why we're not altering what Dustin does. We're not getting around it more. We're not throwing it faster or throwing it slower or trying to make it strike. We're more focused on letting the ball do what it does and then just allowing that to decide whether or not we should add it to the list of balls for our arsenal or not. That's kind of the point there. So yeah, we agree. I agree with that. And the layout, as we mentioned, Troy, it's 60 by 4 3/4. There we go, by 30 actually. That is the layout that we're using. 60 by 4 3/4 by 30 degrees. So yeah, I mean, this is good. I think we've got a few more things we're going to wrap up, and I don't see any more questions. So Dustin, I think you can probably wrap this up for us tonight.
Okay. So Tech Thursday next week is now going to be Tech Wednesday. We are moving the day of the week. Still same time, same place. Still great discussions on bowling, what's going on in the bowling world. So hope to see you next Wednesday for CtD Tech Wednesday. If anything changes as far as the day in the future, We will let everybody know if it does go back to Thursday later on down the line. We will have that information posted on the Facebook page. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn those notifications on so you get notified, one, when the ball reviews come out, and two, when we go live the next time for our weekly discussions. And leave a comment, what ball are you most excited to see? We did a lot of bowling balls today, so we look forward to seeing your comments of which ball you are most excited for, and maybe we will review it. So that being said, Ron, I'll see you in about a couple seconds.
Sounds good, my man. Talk to you guys later.
All right, see ya.
Bye.